Hi, my name is Mary Brooke. I'd like to talk about fertility, Tantra, and Ayurveda today. And I'd like to start with this quote that basically states that fire ignites passion, and soma feeds and is nourishment for passion. And so we are looking to use both Ayurveda and tantric approaches in fertility. And I think that what people don't realize is that fertility affects 1 in 5 couples, and we work with fertility issues that are due to age, nutrition, toxins in the environment, toxins in the body, as well as stress, anxiety, and depression. And so, to further broaden the idea of fertility, let's consider that there's fertility in terms of bringing a life into being and also bringing a concept or an idea or a passion or something that just fuels us into being. And so, when we think about Ayurveda and Tantra and fertility, there are different parts of Ayurveda that speak to fertility. So, for instance, there is the Shukra Dhatu, which is the male reproductive organs, the Artava Vahasrota, which is the female reproductive organs and tissue and channels. We talk about Rasa, which is roughly translating to lymph fluid, but also breast milk and reproductive fluid. And then we talk about ojas, which is our deeper bodily vitality. We talk about soma, which is our vitality in the mind. We also talk about vata pitta kapha in terms of the doshas and how they affect fertility. And in Ayurveda, we have many things that can help with fertility. The 3 branches or the 3 pillars of Ayurveda are food, sex, and sleep. So, fertility very much being part of the sexual pillar of Ayurveda. And so, what are some of the things that might help? We might think about herbs, so tulsi, gaduchi, jadamumsi, gugalu, which is help for the endocrine system, our hormone system. We can talk about rose, we can talk about shatavari, ashwagandha, ashwagandha being the king of herbs for male fertility, but there's also an influence in female, and shatavari, which is the queen of herbs in female fertility. And so there are other things in Ayurveda. So shamana, which is nourishment and rejuvenation therapies, and shodhana, which is gentle purification, panchakarma, which is a stronger types of purification. And then we can talk about Abhyanga, which is the warm oil body treatment. We can talk about Shirodhara, which is the streaming of warm oil on the third eye or the forehead. And so all of these things, diet, lifestyle, we can talk about sleep patterns, our daily regimen. All of these things figure prominently in fertility. Examples of foods that might be helpful from the Ayurvedic perspective would be ojas building foods. So things like an ojas building drink, you can Google that, or shatavari ghee, or rice, almonds, dates, saffron. All of these things promote fertility. Saffron you can think of in terms of those are the actual reproductive parts of a flower, of a crocus, and so that's what we gather for the spice of saffron. From a tantric perspective, we're looking for how can we see everything as sacred? How can we see the body as a temple? How can we see everything as a potential and opportunity for our beloved? So again, expanding out the idea of our fertility to include an idea, a concept, or a living being. And so, how can we see that concept or that living being as our beloved? And tantric is an attitude of and an approach of how we can see the sacred in everyday life and see things through a very loving, compassionate lens, and see things through the lens of everything can be contributing to our passion and our love of life, our juiciness of life. And so we use both of these, the approach of Tantra and the more physical aspects of Ayurveda, to move us in the direction of fertility. I'd like to also include soma. So soma of the mind. Where does that come from exactly, and how does that really translate? So in Ayurveda, we have 7 tissues or dhatus. And so if we have good digestive fire, then we produce appropriately those 7 tissues in the body. And after those 7 tissues, we produce ojas. And again, remember, ojas is our deeper vitality that contributes to fertility. After we produce ojas, which is this physical vitality, we produce something called soma. And soma can be thought of the vitality of the mind, energy in the body. So loosely translated again, the cellular structures of mitochondria, which are embedded in cells, which produce energy, the ATP cycle, you are then producing soma via that mechanism. And so what enhances soma? So again, all the ojas producing types of foods and less stress and healthy lifestyle and regimen, but also soma is, you can think of in terms of coolness in the body. So taking walks in the moonlight and water-based activities and calm meditations, water-based meditations. You can even say Om Som as a way of meditating. Things that can produce rasa in the body are things like coconut water, cucumber water, juicy fruits. Milk is another thing. So adding rose water and cardamom to milk or to our ojas producing drink, it also will help with rasa as well as with ojas. And so as we really move through all of these different tools, we find that there's quite a bit that can help us from Ayurveda and the tantric systems in our efforts towards fertility. And so maybe try 3 things. What could you add to your daily regimen? Could you add maybe more water? Could you add maybe an ojas building drink once per week? Could you add shatavari ghee to some of your foods? Could you add maybe more almonds or dates? Could you use saffron from time to time? Could you get some sort of herbal formula? And you could go to Banyan Botanicals, and there are several mind formulas that include ashwagandha and shatavari and tulsi and guduchi and rose and jadamamsi. All of these things are helpful for the mind. So again, just trying some small things. Maybe Om Som is your meditation for the next 90 days. And maybe it's a very calming type of yoga practice that introduces the concept of water. So I'd like to end with, again, referring to fire ignites our passion. Fire can come from our Agni, our digestive fire that digests all of our foods and our experiences, and then produces those dhatus like rasa, and produces ojas, and then ultimately soma. And our shukra dhatu and our artava vahasrota, so the reproductive organs, and that Soma feeds and is nourishment for our passion. So using passion to help us identify, what do we want to bring to life? What do we want to bring fertility to and enhance fertility with, to cultivate this new beautiful thing, this new beautiful addition in our life? All right, thank you.